I am back, and we are now in chapter 8, and it is thinking in a certain way. So it immediately asks us to go back to chapter 6. And what that chapter talked about was a man that gave a visualization of what he wanted his house to look like. And not just simply wishing he had this different kind of house, but he went into detail and he imagined what exactly he wanted his house to look like. And when he could form that clear and definite mental picture of what he wanted is when he got it. So that's what this thinking in a certain way is talking about. Forming that clear and definite picture of what we're looking for, of the riches that we want in our lives. Versus being vague, versus just, I want to travel or I want to contribute. Everybody wants to do all of these things. And most people have those desires and those general wants. But what we've got to work on is the certain way. And what that is forming definite pictures, details, smelling it, feeling it, literally knowing what it feels like to have it already before we ever get it. That's what this certain way is here in this chapter. Here's a quote. It is not enough that you should have a general desire for wealth to do good. Everybody has this desire. It is not enough that you should have a wish to travel, see things, live more. Everybody has those desires. And then it goes into this amazing analogy about sending a message to a friend, but only sending them the alphabet. Not sending the actual sentences and the distinct message, but simply just sending the alphabet and saying, here you go, I'm sending you a message. That is kind of what it is like when we just have general desires and general goals, and maybe we're not hitting them, maybe we're not getting close, because they've got to be detailed. They've got to be detailed. Oh, amazing. This gives and the chapter also gives this analogy of what it is like for a sailor sailing his ship and heading to a destination, and how he must keep in mind where the port is at and what the destination is the whole time he is out on that sea. Because if he were to get distracted by the dolphins or by the sun or another boat that's next to him and lose sight of the destination, he could easily get off track. Because when you're looking out into the ocean, it's all water, right? Amazing analogy. Keep your face toward what you are looking for at all times. You must not lose sight of it. Then the steersman lose sight of the compass. So beautiful analogy. You must want it badly enough so it will stay in your thoughts. That is another thing too. If you just have these general, I could use some more money, or I could use this in my life, but it's not a dire desire, then it's not going to form a clear mental picture. It's not going to be a definite image of what you want, because it's still too vague. So get specific in your picture, and know that it's going to require effort. Know that some of the things I talked about in the last chapter, the distractions of not only from ourselves, that we can allow ourselves to get distracted by, like the things we go through, the things from our past, our health, diagnoses, addictions, those kind of things that can be distractions, but also what is going on around us. The TV that we watch. For the longest, I couldn't figure out why I didn't like watching the news and why I didn't want to put time into watching TV. I just sensed it as this, I just kept thinking it was negative, or it was just a waste of time, or that I could be filling my time with something better. And it turns out that absolutely they are addicted to showing us drama and teaching pretty much us to look for drama and to search it out for fulfillment and for entertainment even. I mean, if you think of any movie, there's got to be a big piece of drama in it to keep us engaged. And, you know, there's different ways of doing that. But when it comes to TV and the news, absolutely be careful with what you're watching, and especially your children. You know, that's the point of this growth piece here, is not only for ourselves, but to help raise children that are not stuck in the ways that we might have been stuck growing up. What we focus on, we absolutely make bigger. So if we choose to focus on what we want, on what we want to contribute, on the actions we want to take, on the good that we want to do, on who we want to be, then we will absolutely be moving forward, versus focusing on the poverty and the misery and the pain and, you know, using poor body language. Even just standing up or sitting up straight with your shoulders pulled back and your head high gives us more of a strength to us. I mean, I notice an immediate difference. Tony Robbins talks about this all the time, and it's very important to practice this. Look in the mirror and look at yourself. Are you slouching? Are your shoulders drawn in? Are you sitting like this when you're sitting? You know, work on power poses and being strong in your body, and really bringing out from your mind into your body as well, and connecting the body and the mind. Very important. Most people are just reacting. Most people are watching TV or listening to the people around them and simply reacting. You know, that's where it's really important. You hear about vision boards, and, you know, I have little notes on my desk, and I keep my journal open here with notes that I've taken from my recent study classes, and I always have reminders of what I'm supposed to be focusing on, where my focus is supposed to be, the things that are important to me. Because life is full of distractions, friends. Life is full of distractions. There are a lot of examples in our life. And, you know, I went to a basketball game when we were in Arizona a couple weeks ago for my company's conference. And the company sent us to this basketball game. And it was the Phoenix Suns and Texas, Houston, playing. And it was really interesting to watch the crowd, because as the opposing team would come to that side of the crowd, you could see the crowd trying to distract them and yelling and clapping and doing things to throw them off their game, to try to get them to not make that basket, to try to get them distracted. And it is the same in our lives every single day from the moment you get out of bed. We've got to realize that this is happening around us, and we've got to learn, instead of being reactive, to respond and to be ready for those responses, because that is where we realize that they won't take us down. That is where we realize we have control. That is where professional athletes still win and still make the basket, regardless of all the distractions that are trying to take them down and take them out of the game, right? And that's where timeouts are in the games. You know, the coach will see that, and they might see a player, they're very intuitive, they might see somebody getting taken out or being brought down a little bit in their game, and they'll call a timeout. Timeout! Refocus. And they bring everybody in huddle, right? And they refocus. Same thing with you, friends. Same thing with me. I am human. It happens to me all day, every day, but I find that the more I'm prepared and the more that I'm filled with the reminders of what I want, what my purpose is, where I'm going, what my contribution is to the world and my family, then the less I get taken out, or for, you know, less amount of time. We are all human. We all have worries and fears, and it's going to be here. We've got to choose to look at the good, to look at where we're going. We've got to choose to keep our head in the game. Look at the happiness, at the freedom, at the love and connection that we want and are headed towards, and that we are claiming today. Keep looking at that. You know, chapter 9 is called How to Use the Will. We're in chapter 8. Thinking in a certain way. And A big piece of this is our faith. And, that certain way really is holding dire to my faith and to those things that I'm headed towards, wanting it badly enough to overcome mental laziness. This chapter has, the quote is right here out of this chapter. The methods herein set forth are for people whose desire for riches is strong enough to overcome mental laziness and love of ease and make them work. So, it's easy to just roll out of bed and react to everything and in our day, and to keep thinking the thoughts that we've been trained and, taught to think, or to just grab the neighbor's thoughts and be thinking those. It is effort. It is going to be work to find our own thoughts and to find our own purpose and beliefs. And we've got to do that for the sake of our own health and life and for the sake of our children and those that are to come. This is a beautiful quote here. Whatsoever things ye ask for when ye pray, believe that ye receive them and ye shall have them, said Jesus. I love how it brings in scripture here and deity and the beauty of that. We've got to literally be living in our visions. We've got to be living in that house that we want, driving that car that we want, being married to that spouse that we want, whatever their, struggle and worry and fear is, or whatever their, ways are that we might not see as great or as beneficial to the family or to themselves or to us. We've got to continue seeing them like we saw them when we met them, like we saw them when we married them. Whatever their strengths are, we all have strengths and weaknesses. We all have ups and downs. And the purpose of being married, and I'm just going to bring this in because this is just where I'm at in my personal life, is to constantly remind them of their strengths, to constantly bring them back to their own strengths, because it is so natural for us to dwell in our weakness and to dwell in maybe what we're not the greatest in or our mistakes. And for us to be living together, cohabitating, that is our purpose, is to remind each other of our strengths and to bring each other up when one is coming down. So don't see things necessarily as a downside to somebody, because everybody has that. As long as we're human, we all have a downside. Focus on the strengths. I mean, even today, I have been very intentional with this in my marriage and with my children, focusing on the good, focusing on the strengths, talking about the positive, talking about what I want and what I see and what I believe for my family. And even today, I sent a reminder to my husband, you are the best dad ever. The kids want to be with you and jump all over you because they love you. And that's the only way that they know to show love. And the more time we spend with them, that's all that we do, is help them, show them that we love them. And when I came in here to work today, a lot of times I hear what's going on out there still. And, sometimes it makes me want to say, Am I supposed to be in here working? Maybe I'm supposed to be out there, helping with my family, because it sounds like they might be going through something out there. And today I was just so moved because he chose to load them all up and take them to the park and do a fun activity with them. But I had been encouraging him all morning and building him up. So, when the time came for him to have the strength to deal with 3 children while mom did her thing, he was capable and able and took the lead and went. And that's what I love about him. And I always remind myself and remind him of that, what I love about him. So I encourage you to do the same. Be as thankful for all things all the time as you expect them to be when they have taken form. I talked about this a lot in the last video, to really being grateful and seeing things as they are and as you want them to be, versus as you don't want them to be, and as, maybe as they are now, but if you focus and visualize on what you want, You don't need to use vain repetitions. Believe and you shall receive. Your part is to intelligently formulate your desire for the things which make for a larger life. That is what riches bring to us, a larger life. And it is so beautiful and worth putting the time and the energy into growing the faith and having that unshakable purpose in your heart to continue moving forward, to not let the distractions distract you. I mean, faith is mentioned over and over again in this chapter. Live in the new house, wear the fine clothes, ride in the automobile, go on the journey, and confidently plan for greater journeys. I'm so grateful to be here sharing this information with you. I'm going to stop now. That was chapter 8, and we'll get into the next chapter soon.